As the world heads slowly towards outlawing petrol and diesel cars, one particular Australian state has recently announced it will likely follow in the footsteps of Europe and the UK and mandate only electric car sales post-2035, signaling the beginning of the end for fossil fuel-powered cars down under. Today we're discussing ACT's plan to ban petrol and diesel car sales after 2035, so stay right where you are. Let's jump straight in. What's going down? Australian Capital Territory, the small region serving the Australian capital of Canberra, is set to become the first state in Australia to ban the sale of fossil fuel-powered vehicles in favor of electric vehicles, EVs. Slated to come into force in 2035, the ban would be groundbreaking in Australia and would be introduced as part of a zero-emissions vehicle strategy, ZEVs. ACT wants the rollout to actually take place before the cutoff 2035. However, with some reports suggesting the powers that be have targeted between 80 and 90% of all new car sales by 2030 be EVs, and the administration has already made the perks of owning an EV a lot more attractive than the more traditional fuel-powered cars, with things like free car registration for 2 years, as well as zero-interest loans up to $15,000 to make the jump to EVs. The move means the ACT will be on par with Europe, but the UK are still leading the way with their ambitious move of outlawing traditional cars by 2030. And with this news comes infrastructure improvements for the industry, with more than 50 EV charging stations being built throughout the city of Canberra. It is also expected that ACT councillors will announce more incentives as part of ZEVs when more details are released. And with the announcement, environmental campaigners are calling on the rest of Australia to follow suit. What do you guys make of the ACT's announcement? So what else do we know? Stay tuned to find out. Lindsay Souter hailed the news saying, "Other Australian states and territories must now follow the lead of the ACT and other jurisdictions around the world. Doing so will unlock a myriad of sick benefits for citizens, our towns and cities, and our environment." And whilst it's still early days, that's hard to disagree with. However, not everyone is over the moon with the announcement. Australian Automotive Dealer Association boss James Vortman aired serious concerns that this policy will have some adverse consequences for the automotive industry, the people they employ, and consumers in the ACT. The focus has to be on the environment and what the industry can do to improve. But first, electric vehicles have some catching up to do in regards of price. Right now, only those on the upper need of the income ladder are able to afford EVs. So the idea that low-income families are going to suddenly switch to electric vehicles because it's the right thing to do is quite honestly delusional. There's also a lack of choice in the makes and models available to customers, which some people have claimed is a problem for those who are lower down on the income scale. At the moment, the car industry itself has been calling for stricter measures when it comes to emissions in order to get better access to electric vehicle supply. Are you guys currently rocking an EV? Let us know what you're writing in below. Next up, we're talking Porsche. Stay with us. Porsche has recently revealed it expects its line of EVs to be more profitable than its more traditional ICE cars in the future. They recently told investors that in the long run, their electric vehicles will be highly sought after, as potential customers are more open to paying more for cleaner energy. The supercar manufacturer thinks that sales of their EVs will be on par with traditional fuel power motors within 2 years, which will see them increase prices in a bid to cash in on demand for electric vehicles. CEO Oliver Bloom said recently, "Our target is to selectively expand higher margin segments and to leverage electric vehicle pricing opportunities." And so far, it has been a pretty smooth transition to the EV market for the German auto giant, with sales of their first EV, the Taycan, doing incredibly well. They even added the Cross Turismo to the Taycan fleet, which quite incredibly outsold the iconic 911 last year, and they are hoping for a whopping finish to 2022 with the release of the Taycan Sport Turismo, which they have high hopes for. Porsche plans to release EV versions of some of their most iconic vehicles, such as the Boxster, before we know it, as well as bringing an electric SUV to the party. All this means that Porsche predict 8 out of 10 vehicle sales by 2031 will be electric, which is pretty great. What do you guys think? Next up, the first reviews of the electric F-150 are in. Stay with us. To say the iconic F-150 has been a success over the years would be a mammoth understatement. Ford were always going to churn out an electric version of the #1 selling vehicle in North America over the last 40 years, which they have now done in the form of the F-150 Lightning. And one recent report from InsideEVs.com seems to point to the Lightning being a massive success. The most powerful F-150 in the company's long history, the Lightning features all-wheel drive and dual motors across all its variants, and the extended range battery versions features a whopping 580 horsepower as well as 775 pound-feet of torque. The power on-offer actively pushes the driver back in their seat, and the truck moves seamlessly through mid-speed to high speed in a matter of seconds. So powerful, in fact, that it borders on unnecessary. Of course, there's also the practical uses of the vehicle, which can haul up to 2,235 pounds with the standard battery, with vehicles with a towing package capable of towing 4 times the amount. And the battery is also pretty impressive, with standard range trucks offering a range of 230 miles, with extended range Platinum offering 300 miles, and an extra 20 miles tagged on for the extended range Pro XLT and Lariat models. Will you guys be checking out the F-150 Lightning? Let us know what you think. Elon has been discussing Tesla's prices and inflation next. Stay stick around. Surprise, surprise, Tesla has yet again raised their prices recently. While most other companies are looking for ways to actually make their products more affordable to the regular Joe, Tesla and Elon are going the other way. But of course, it's not his fault. Elon has recently slated his own company for what he sees as embarrassing price structures, saying, "We've raised our prices quite a few times. They're frankly at embarrassment levels. But we've also had a lot of supply chain and production shocks, and we've got crazy inflation." And whilst it's true that supply chain issues have hit Tesla, it's not just Tesla who have suffered. Musk also discussed another major stumbling block, inflation, which has skyrocketed in recent months, saying, "I think inflation will decline towards the end of the year. I'm hopeful. And this is not a promise, but I'm hopeful at some point we can reduce prices a little bit." When discussing if the company has a demand problem, Musk was bullish in his denial and claimed the problem lay with production. He claimed Tesla is trying to decrease delivery waiting times, suggesting that if they could do this, more people would order. Some others have suggested that the problem is probably more convoluted than simply waiting times. What do you guys make of this? Is Elon right? And finally, the world's fully electric jet ski has arrived. Fans of water sports rejoice! For Taiga Motors have recently brought a fully electric jet ski to the market. If you've ever been out on the open ocean or on a decent-sized lake, you will know that jet skis are probably the most fun you can have on water. But if you actually own one, you will also know how expensive they can be to run. They guzzle gas and are a scourge on the environment too. So an electric jet ski makes a lot of sense. The Taiga Orca is the world's first all-electric jet ski and comes from the same company who are currently developing the electric snowmobile, powered by a 24 kilowatt-hour battery. The Orca is pretty light at just 738.5 pounds, thanks to its carbon fiber hull. Of course, this is still heavier than a regular jet ski, but in the grand scheme of things, isn't overly heavy. There are 3 Orca models available: the Range, Sport, and Wild, which offer a little more power as you move through them. With Wild being the most speedy version, the Orca also features some pretty intense torque, as well as insane acceleration, with some comparing it to riding a Tesla on water. It is also reportedly super agile and nimble. So what are you guys waiting for? As always, thanks for joining us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we'll be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so not to miss out on more fun bits and pieces in the future.